Shit, there he is.
There we go.
How's things?
Hello all, and we're live. So I've got Adam and Luke here with me, and we're going to review the Bournemouth show. Well, Adam especially, because he was at it, and we're going to preview Belfast and the other shows this weekend. I do know what they are, it's just they're not coming to me right now.
Conlon.
So guys, we'll start off with Bournemouth. And it turned out, well, the main event, because I was reading the review and boxing news, the main event turned out to be an absolute cracker. But the undercard apparently, was just as it was, an undercard, and Sky are just developing new fighters. So it's always going to be tough to sell an undercard when it's just bloody new fighters.
Yeah, with the undercard, it was pretty much exactly as advertised. The only thing is a shout out to Hassan Azim for his little 6-rounder, which was absolutely phenomenal. The guy, he was boxing, came in really good shape. Hassan cracked him with a brilliant little right hand. The guy's kind of slipping outside off the center line on the ropes, and Hassan, rather than throwing it down the middle, throws it slightly to the side and knocks him down. And then proceeds to throw about 400 punches in about 40 seconds. Totally shoots his bolt, and you can kind of see at the end of the round he's got this kind of moment where he's going, "I'm absolutely knackered. I've got 5 more rounds of this." And the other guy slowly starts to put it on him, and every now and again, Hassan, because he was just a level above, would catch him and would try to dig in. And the guy wasn't going anywhere because Hassan just couldn't quite land that one clean shot. And one of the problems he was having was he was loading up too much.
Yeah.
When we were watching it, when Hassan was nice and relaxed and he was basically setting up behind the left hand, when the right hand landed, he'd buzz him. As soon as he buzzed him, he'd tighten up, and he saw every other shot coming, so just brace for it. But it was a really good gut check, because it meant Hassan was absolutely knackered and he was in a fight.
It was a good fight for a novice.
Yeah, he was in a fight that he didn't expect to be in. He gutted it out, and a lot of prospects at that stage, when they're not really all that, that's when they spew it the first time somebody hits back. And he didn't. That was really good. Caroline is going to be absolutely sensational, and was way too big and too good for the girl who she was in with, and was only going to get herself hurt. Fraser Clark, Bracamonte, by the way, I bumped into him around the back. He is huge. Like, as a bloke, he's absolutely massive. Because we were wandering around the back, we kept bumping into the footballers, or guys that I assume they were footballers. And then you bumped into Bracamonte and you go, yeah, he's a proper heavyweight. And Clark just did with him. He had no problem at all. The only thing I think about Fraser Clark, you got the sense that physically you might be able to impose yourself on him if you're big enough and good enough.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, Fraser Clark's a great guy, really good interview, and he was just leagues above. Ben Whittaker is the absolute bollocks, but everyone's going nuts about him kind of playing about showboating, and it doesn't really impress me, because the guy he's beaten, he should be able to showboat. Like, you should be able to showboat against me, no problem. But it's not impressive, because we know he's better than the dude he's in with.
Yeah, it's like punching down. You're not impressing anyone doing that.
It's like somebody turning up to the kids' race on sports day, running the length of it, turning around and laughing at the 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different league.
But then you're getting faster, Luke. Adam. I'm finding it tough now because the run rings around me.
Yeah. And it's just one of those ones where he, as soon as he settled down the second man, you can see it. It's there. He's phenomenal. I was not particularly fussed by that. Pigford at the end looked pretty solid. He is what he is. He's a puncher who's there in front of you, and I reckon he'll get to a level where the guys will figure him out when they can take it. But I'll shout out to Lee Cutler. It's always good to see Lee do well, because I've seen him on so many shows. But it was one of those ones where, like you said, it is entirely about the main event. It's about Chris, and it was about Isaac.
Yeah, and it really lived up to the billing. Now, I haven't seen the fight in full yet because I was just very busy over the weekend. But I have seen the highlights, and the highlights look great. But I want to sit down properly, maybe tomorrow afternoon when I get out of bed, and watch it properly, because everyone's raving about it. They're saying this is the British fight of the year,
Well, I mean, it's not quite the British Fight of the Year because I believe that's Wood and Conlon. They've got that sewn up.
I still think the only reason Wood and Conlon is so hyped up was because of the two knockdowns, or the knockdown, the knockout of the ring.
No, it was good. It was a really good fight. And it was at the world level. But this was like every bit as good as everyone's making it out. It was.
Maybe they meant as in British level and the other.
Domestic Fight of the Year.
And by the way, I think Michael Conlon might have a slight issue with you calling his British.
The British Fight of the Year, that's fair. But this at domestic level, well, I mean, even at European level, this was brilliant. This was absolutely phenomenal. From word go as well, this was absolutely sensational. The ring walks were brilliant. Isaac, cool as a cucumber coming out. Chris, that was absolutely mad. The atmosphere, the best in terms of praise I can give it, right, was that is the best atmosphere I've been at a boxing event since I was at Froch Beauty.
Yeah, and like that's the first show Bournemouth had in a long time, isn't it?
First show since Chris. Well, Bendel does like the small hall shows, and the last one, that's the major one. Yeah, that's the first big one they've had probably since Freddie Mills, and I think they were saying that was the first ever televised one in Bournemouth. Man, it was phenomenal. It was utterly brilliant.
Yeah, and they're all talking, of course, about a big kind of world title push at the Vitality. Isn't it the Vitality Bournemouth Stadium?
Yeah, Dean's Court Vitality, whatever you want to call it, at the stadium. Yeah, that'll be amazing, man. That would be absolutely nuts. It was so good. It was really well done.
It looked. I mean, because I was at Lady Gaga that night, and she was phenomenal, and I've no regrets going. And I'm glad I went to Lady Gaga in the end because she was brilliant. However, like hearing the fight, like I was like, that fear of missing out thing. It wasn't that I didn't want to be at Lady Gaga. I wanted my cake and eating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to have it. Your cake and eating it too. Absolutely. But yeah, to the fight itself, it was. So I've watched it back. I watched it back this morning, and I didn't score it live because I was too busy screaming myself.
Yeah. It's very difficult to score live, especially when you're cheering on.
Yeah, I was unbelievably biased. I would not have scored that. So I watched it this morning, and so when we were live and they read out the scorecards and they were 9 rounds to 3, we thought that's a little wide. And we thought as soon as they said that, that's only going to Chris. They're not going to give Isaac that. And then I watched it again this morning, and I actually think those are pretty good scorecards. From where we were sitting, which was not... So if you look at the camera angle for the ring, we are just slightly off to the left, and you couldn't quite see the work Chris was doing inside as clearly as you can on the
on TV. See, that's the thing about TV. If you're ever at a live show, I like to go back and watch it on TV because it's watching two different things.
It's two totally different things. So we thought Chris nicked it live, and then we went back and I watched it this morning. I thought it was like very clearly Chris, but man, those first 3 rounds.
Oh yeah, I saw
the last 3 rounds. Were utterly brilliant, and I thought Isaac
was to both boxers because that was just really good,
Yeah, that's literally it. It takes 2 to tango, and Isaac was brilliant. Like he was very composed. I thought he's had the orbital blowout in terms of his eye fracture, so he's tough as nails. I think he was just physically a little outgunned, and he had a little bit of success for me, kind of early middle rounds. When Chris started to just step off. Initially, Chris took it to him, and Chris just punches harder, and Chris punches really well. So Isaac's got a much more relaxed style. So when it's a distance and it's straight punches, Isaac's will land. But as soon as Chris closed that distance, even though he's the bigger man, he throws his hooks and his uppercut really well and really short. He throws that right hand really nice.
That's an example of a taller man preferring to be on the inside.
Yeah, an exact example of that. And then as soon as that fight was dictated at that distance, at Chris's distance, it was tough. It was really tough. And the shots were phenomenal. And how Isaac was standing at the end after, I think it was round 11, was utterly brilliant.
Yeah, because I think both myself and yourself had predicted a late stoppage win for Chris. I remember. Luke, did you have Chris on points or did you have Chamberlain on points?
I had Chris on points.
Yeah, so you actually were correct. Now, did you watch it live on TV or did you watch it afterwards on TV?
No, I watched it live, yeah.
Well, how was it from a TV viewer watching it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how good it was in the arena because it was fantastic on the telly. Real back and forth action, real barn burner of a fight. it kind of went how I thought it would go. There was an ebb and flow to the fight. Now I scored it live. I had it 7-5 to Chris, but I can see where 9-3 came out of, because I mean, I gave Chamberlain one of the early rounds which could have easily gone to Chris.
Yeah.
And then same with one of the later rounds that could have easily gone to Chris. So I wasn't arguing with the 9-3 verdict. Thought Chamberlain showed a lot of heart. I thought Chris's fitness now. I know he said he only had the 5-week camp. So maybe that's what played into his cardio a bit there. But I think his cardio did let him down a bit. He gassed out more than once in the fight. And Chamberlain didn't have the physicality to take control of that situation. Now, he did hurt Chris twice. He hurt him badly twice, but he just didn't, again, he didn't have the finishing instinct to get the job done. But I think looking at it from a sports science perspective, I think Chris is a tad bit too bulky. I think if he could shed a tiny bit of muscle mass, his cardio would be much better. He'd still I think he'd stay as strong, and I think he'd be more active. Because you could see at the end of the fight, I don't know if you've seen it, Enda, he looked like he was going to collapse.
In fairness, he did, but like I was kind of saying, they must have really been in such a war, because he did look, you know.
He looked spent, and I've not seen a fighter look that knackered after the fourth round in a long time. Like in between rounds, he was knackered after.
Oh, I thought you meant at the end of the fight.
No. Like I'm going back to the fourth round. Right. He was spent, but after the fight was finished, I thought he was going to have to be held up. Yeah. Genuinely thought he was going to have to be held up, and it made me laugh. You had McGuigan in the corner. You're not tired. You're not tired. And Chris is looking at him as if to say, "You do not know how I feel right now." But I think
master of psychology is
that's it. But I think the lactic acid build up because of he's gone muscular. He's gone more and more muscular, I think, as time's gone on. He's grown into the frame a bit.
I used to remember Chris as a more slight guy. I remember he was in a fight, was it about 2 years ago, just before COVID, and he didn't really impress. I'm trying to remember who that was against. Was it Clark?
Against no.
Do you mean Dukar, or do you mean
Dukar would have been what I'm thinking of.
It was a domestic fight.
Do you mean Riakporhe, or do you mean Glover?
I think it was Riakporhe.
Yeah.
No, but Riakporhe is a giant. You're going to look small next to him.
Well, that probably is a fair comment. But I was delighted for Chris, and I was also delighted for Chamberlain as well, because, I mean, his stock's going to rise because of that, you know. So no boxer came out of that badly, and boxing won as well, because now you have a new kind of place that boxing is back in Bournemouth, you know.
Well, one thing we spoke about was the ring rust, you know, for Isaac. And to be honest with you, he looked just as sharp. You know, he didn't look like he was rusty at all, and he was able, especially in the center of the ring, he was able to keep up with everything, not a problem. Now, obviously, with his lead eye being damaged so early on, he was hindered that way. But I don't know. I think if Chris learns how to sit down on his punches more and throw 5 good ones rather than 15 okay ones, I think he'll be a lot more effective, you know, on the ropes. I think if he
uses from European level to world level, I suppose that's
you know, you have to really pick those shots. You can't just be winging in shots and hope to land. And against Chamberlain, you know, he's a slippery customer at the best of times, you know, and he was able to catch and counter and move and everything. And he didn't have the punch or the physicality, but it made for an excellent fight. Could have watched 15 rounds, 20 rounds of it, you know.
Yeah, because it's funny now, because I'm watching the retro fights and they're all like 15 rounds long, and I'm going, wow, that's a lot of rounds to fight. Like, you know, how they did it, we'll never know. But and
1 week as well.
Yeah, if you're watching this back, not live, and you want to put down in the comments on YouTube what you thought of the fight and how you saw it, then please do, and we can look at those and see. So that was Bournemouth. Was there any other fights of note this weekend? There was one in America. Did any of you catch that one?
Yeah, Danny Garcia and
Yeah.
Benavidez. Yeah, I watched
How
that
was
live.
that?
It was a good fight. Benavidez is huge. He was 172 pounds on fight night. So
How did he make
Garcia
welterweight?
don't.
How did he make
It makes
140 pounds? He's huge.
it makes no sense. Even against Crawford at welterweight, he was massive. But yeah, Garcia boxed really well. He didn't look undersized at the weight, considering who his opponent was. You know, he looked strong. He's got like Garcia. I've always rated Garcia highly. You know, any fight he's in, he can mix it with the best of them, and beat a lot of the best of them too. He's got the great fundamentals. He's got a very good jab, very good footwork, and he can punch. He still has that punch now as well. But he wasn't taking as many risks against Benavidez. He wasn't standing there long enough to plant his feet. He was in and out kind of style. But yeah, it was an entertaining fight. I had it 8-4 to Garcia. Garcia won, I thought, fairly clearly. And there was a few scrappy rounds that, you know, could have been swing rounds, but I think Garcia had the cleaner work, which is what I always score, and those kind of scrappy rounds. But yeah, he's definitely an exciting mix to the pack at 154. I mean, I don't think Charlo is going to be undisputed for long.
You'd fancy Garcia against Charlo?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying sorry. I don't think he'll keep all the belts for long, or I don't think he'll stay at 154 for long.
Oh, no, I get you.
I think Charlo would beat Garcia definitely, but you'd give Garcia a chance against the likes of a Tony Harrison or a Castano, you know, and they're very good, entertaining fights. Or even if Liam Smith can get his hands on one of the belts, I'd love to see him versus Danny Garcia. I think that's a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
So there's loads of big fights.
Boxer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, like we were saying about Boxer, a lot of their talent is new. So obviously they need some established heads. And I think Liam Smith is a very good signing for Boxer. It's what they need. Because you can't have like all the undercard being, you know, novice bouts.
Exactly.
You need a co-main that's decent, and I think you fit that co-main bill very well.
The beauty of what Boxer have going on, not to go off on another tangent, is they've got people now from debut. So there'll be people who will watch them in 4 or 5 years' time, the likes of the Azims, the likes of Whitaker, the likes of Fraser Clark, who'll probably win a British title, maybe European. And they'll be able to say, oh, I remember when he started, I've seen him since he had his first fight. Same with Caroline Dubois. Oh, she's a world champion. I've seen her since her first fight. And that's how people grow that affinity towards fighters. So that's one thing that Boxer has going for them. But if people stick with it.
But in Boxing News now, like it was an excellent article, but he was scathing of the undercard. And I did agree with him. I mean, you can't have all novice fighters on, you know, filling the undercard, you know. But like you said, no, but it doesn't work for television for a casual viewer, which Sky appeal to. You know, that's what Sky wants. You know, so I can see.
But you can't light a fire with wet wood. Do you know, you have to work with what you got. And at the moment,
that's why you're bringing in people like Smith, so they can fill up the kind of card.
Well, he's not an undercard fighter. Smith's the main event.
Well, he's co-main. I would say he would fit in a co-main.
No, he's in Liverpool. He's a main event.
I was at his last fight. There was
but in Liverpool, he's a main event. But like, maybe I'm being unfair. But like, I mean, yeah, I suppose
you've got to
on
think
Boxer. On Boxer right now, he would be a main event. I actually, now that I'm reviewing that, no, on Boxer he would be a main event.
Definitely,
Liam Smith. Sorry.
No,
go. Yeah, I think Liam Smith is a main event wherever you go, because he's an established world champion, an established name. He's now boxed, like he's boxed Canelo, like he's boxed, like he headlined. I was there when he fought Fowler, and that arena was absolutely full, and everyone was there to see Smith. Like it was.
Yeah, it wasn't Fowler's night. That
it wasn't Fowler. It was Smith, and I think
that was a great card. Actually, that was my favorite. You know, of the domestic DAZN cards, that was my favorite one, the Liverpool one.
Yeah, and I think that's massive. So what I think was lacking at the minute is because so we'll go particularly with Boxer. Boxer have sunk a ton of money into these Olympians. which means that they've got to get them going. They've got to get them active, and they want them at a competitive level as quickly as possible. They're talking about Azim fighting O'Reilly and Charlton as quickly as possible. And that's the way they're doing it. So they're stuck with this bit at the minute where they're basically the Olympians are fighting nobodies. That card was screaming out for something that would have previously headlined a small hall show, like an English title fight, not between like an Olympian and your English title level guy, just two competitive fighters. Then that's what it needed. Like,
yeah, because
crying out for a Bradley Ray, do you know?
Yeah, and I think that's why Bradley works well with Sky, because he's that great, you know, co-main or next one down, and he'll always bring the entertainment, and he's not a novice, and the guy he's fighting, you know, will always be well matched because they'll just give you entertainment.
He can fight his socks off, Bradley can.
Oh yeah, because I mean, like already, sorry for cutting across you. That Channel 5. Was it Channel 5 show?
Josh Kelly, yeah.
No, not the Josh Kelly one. No, what was the one in Coventry? Who ran that?
That was Boxer.
That was Boxer, yeah.
That was a great show, you know, and I mean, you'd no real super main event. I mean, Sam Eddington headlined it, but I mean, you did have Azim on the undercard and that, but it was such a well matched show that I really enjoyed it. Like, I mean, okay, the Olympians as well. The Welsh girl, she was not the Welsh
Price.
Girl, it's the other one. It's her girlfriend who has a Welsh first name.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to be fighting anyone special. This was her first time out. She was still in a 6 rounder, and the girl took her the full 6, you know. But like that, there was an English title fight on that, and Bradley Ray had identified as he wanted to fight the winner, and that was a smashing fight. And I even said it to the people beside me, that's going to be the fight of the night, and it turned out I was correct, you know.
It was competitive. That's what we want.
You want, like, you don't want to see a one-sided beatdown. Like, nobody wants to see that.
You mentioned
match, you know.
You mentioned Sam Eggington there. In 12 months' time, you could see Bradley Ray in with Sam Eggington. I don't see why not.
And I think
that'd be
too strong for him, and I think he'd be too, you know,
versatile. His punch selection is fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Big,
you know,
he can punch.
And
you know, I
sorry,
think he'd beat Sam Eggington.
Not now, but in 12 months' time, yes.
Yeah.
The experience at that level. Well, what you need at that time is just gradual exposure to the rounds. So I'll take it back to Bournemouth. If you go back to the Chris Billum-Smith versus Richard Riakporhe, that was Chris's first 10-round fight. And as we all saw, I actually think Chris is very, very fit, but he has a shocking poker face. Like, he can't hide if he's tired at any degree. Because, like you said, he's quite big, he's quite stocky, and he doesn't have the most relaxed style. He's very aggressive, and it's very
he's pent up, you know.
Whereas Isaac's a lot more relaxed. It's very obvious then. But if you watch this, Chris was shattered. And he's absolutely knackered pretty much after 5 rounds against Riakporhe. And Chris is as fit as they come. And it comes down to not necessarily just the, like, how fit are you? How fast can you run this far? It's mentally, how much control have you got? What are the nerves like? And as you gradually expose them to this distance of fight, Chris got better. And he got better and better. And again, with Bradley, if you throw him in from the level he's at now to Sam, that's a huge step up. And in terms of rounds, that would be a massive step up. It's the gradual progression where you go, right, I'm now comfortable doing 10 rounds against some body bag, right? Now get the body bag to punch back. Can you take it when it gets to 5, 6, 7, 8, and they start hitting you back? And it gets a little bit tough in there. And you start pressing it, and you gradually build that up over time rather than jumping the levels. And that's where things go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, the two things as a boxer, the two things that make you the most tired in the world is, number one is getting hit, and number two is missing.
Yeah.
So
that's
what makes you tired. That's what makes you tired. If you're landing shots, it doesn't, like, I know myself, if I'm landing shots, it doesn't feel like I've wasted any energy.
No,
if I've thrown a shot and I miss, it drains you. Same with getting punched, it drains you.
It's down to the endorphins, because landing the punch releases that the wonderful.
Well, when you think of it as well, it's kinetic energy. So when you throw your punch, if you hit something, that kinetic energy is going into the target. If you miss, it's going right back up your arm.
Yeah.
So your muscles are wasting the energy, and
but as well as that, like hitting the target is a positive endorphins, whereas missing the target, it's the negative endorphins.
oh yeah, there's a mental aspect to it, of course.
Yeah.
But those two aspects.
If the energy is the basic kind of transfer of energy is there as well. But so that was basically last week. So now we're going to look forward to this weekend. So we'll start in Belfast. So what do you guys think of that card and the show, or have you looked at it? Or
I'm
going to.
I think it's more or less the same as last weekend. I mean, I know you can slate Boxer for saying they're throwing in their prospects with nobodies, but that's all this is too. And then you've got Conlon in a fight he should win, but a fight he needs to be good in to win, if that makes sense. He can't come in sleeping. Do you know?
Yeah, while Conlon is expected to win this fight, it will be a test from how can he bounce back, because I haven't been as impressed with Conlon of late, So it'll be interesting.
I know we've had this conversation before, and I'm actually the opposite. He's impressed me more. I said 2 years ago, as much as I love Michael Conlon, I said I don't think we'll ever see him with a title around his waist. And then after his performance against Lee Wood, he has me convinced he'll win a world title. He was really good against Lee Wood. Really good.
Or a proper world title.
Whatever the WBA want to call it, because that's not up to the boxer.
No, but I mean, like, it's still a step up, fighting Santa Cruz, no matter how semi-retired he is.
But if Santa Cruz never comes down and Lee Wood's elevated, it's no more of a step up. It's no more of an accomplishment. It's still the same title.
Lee Wood won't be fighting Mick Conlon next. Then he'll be fighting somebody else of the WBA's bidding.
No, but you know what I mean. It doesn't matter what the world title is.
They've even said that they're going to have a box off. Like, he won't be giving it to him if Santa Cruz goes up a weight or retires. It'll be a box off. And I can't remember the American they identified as the opponent, but so it won't be a gimme for Mr. Wood.
But I think.
Sorry,
I'm with Luke. I think Conlon wins the world title. I think it's there with Mick. I think.
Well, I'd love to be proved wrong.
I personally think he's good enough to win that world title, and that weight class has a lot of very good, but ultimately a lot of those guys are beatable on their day, and I think that Mick can do it. I've actually been a big fan of Mick. He's a very, very good all-round fighter. Lee Wood's a puncher and a half, but then if you look at Warrington, if it depends what Conlon's got left. Sometimes fighters are never the same after fights like that. If Conlon is as good as he was when he fought Wood, then do you give him a shout against Warrington? Because Warrington isn't going to put Conlon to sleep. That's not happening. Or if you then look at like the other guys at that weight class, like even in around like that matchroom scene, like Lara's an absolute animal, but Conlon is good enough that he just dances rings around him, whereas that's not Warrington's style. And a lot of those fighters are really good fighters of a really specific style, and I think it meshes really well. And generally speaking, Conlon looks pretty good in a lot of those matchups, if he's the fighter he was.
Yeah, stylistically, a lot of them suit him.
Yeah.
And one thing that he has that he didn't have, especially at 122 pounds, he has the punch now. We've seen that against Wood. He can crack, he can crack with either hand. And Adam Booth is very good with that explosive athlete of a boxer. And that's what he's developed Conlon into. He's an explosive athlete.
Yeah.
And he can punch with either hand.
The one thing that I thought was critical of Conlon was he did seem to be really running out of puff in round 10, and like
I think
the
thing is, right?
Body work was
one thing The body work as well, yeah, Adam, absolutely. Like throughout, you don't want to get hit in the stomach for 30 minutes. No one does.
Sucks.
But one thing as well, as a boxer, I think he won in the first round. It was over. His adrenaline dump, right?
Yeah.
So you think, right, the bell's gone. He's full of adrenaline. This is the biggest night of his life. And bang, he's landed the punch of a lifetime.
Yeah,
his
that
adrenaline's gone from here to his toes. His adrenaline dump would have been huge. And to have to pull yourself back up and get yourself back up again when you've had that kind of an adrenaline dump is a hard thing to do for anyone. It's the same reason. Yeah, I was just about to mention that Wilder lost the rest of that round because he had finished the fight. Wilder had finished the fight.
He was home having dinner.
Mm-hmm. And so was Conlon. So then when you
12
think
seconds later,
he
was back.
And when you think then Conlon's finished, as Adam rightly put there, back home having his dinner, celebrating. Next thing he knows, Wood's up and he's got to fight for another 33 minutes.
Mm.
Do you know? So that in itself, I think that winded him.
It's a question of his adrenaline dump, as you put it. So it's not a question of his stamina or his.
I don't think so. I think he was 12 round fit.
12 rounds. It was that's good to know. You know what I mean? Because people were critical of that, but you seem to have a plausible explanation for it. I mean, it's like, when people surmise about things about me or whatever, and then I say, well, actually, the science behind it is X, Y, or Z.
Well, just imagine it this way. Imagine you're told, right, we're going to do a 5K. You've done your 5K, you're delighted. Oh no, you got to run 20 more.
Well, that really is it. No,
I also think it does a lot of discredit to the amount of work that Wood put in there. Wood was consistently hitting the body, and he was pressuring Conlon. Now, Conlon was winning the majority of the rounds, but he wasn't winning them easily. He wasn't. And he had to win each one of those, and that takes its toll.
Because I had Wood 1 round up before round 11, and
I think I had Conlon winning it.
Yeah, most people
I had it pretty wide for Conlon.
But the judges only had Conlon 1 up, so Conlon would have been down after 11 had he not fallen through the ropes, just got knocked down. So it was a very close fight, and again, it's styles make fights, and what do you see and what do you like. But I liked what Wood was doing, you know. So I mean, he's won me over, and if he fights Santa Cruz, I'll be completely backing Wood, or anyone he fights next.
That fight's not happening.
Oh, I know it's not, but you know what I mean.
The person I most feel sorry for in that division is Lara.
Yeah, you'd never say. Yeah, Lara is phenomenal, and he's not getting a big fight again.
And if I ever met Josh Warrington, I'd say to him, why didn't you give him the third fight? It's inconclusive. Like why didn't you? As a fighting man, why didn't you?
But look what he did with Kid Galahad and the belt and everything,
Oh, I know.
I'm not a fan of Josh Warrington. I'm sorry, I'm just not.
I guess one of those ones, I don't think it's Josh. I think his team's make that decision. The team's taken one look and gone, personally, and it's not something that I think Warrington would agree with, watching that second fight, I think the fight's going the same way.
It was going one way. It was. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if I was in Warrington's corner, I go, right, that's a get out of jail free card. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. He beats a lot of the other fighters in that division and can make a lot of money doing it. Why would you get your head beaten by somebody they say in Rocky, he's all wrong for us, baby?
Yeah.
We don't need that kind of man in our lives.
But it's the whole boxer kind of ethic and code of, righting the wrongs and, turning over the results.
Play to Warrington.
The best thing that could have happened to Warrington would have been getting knocked out again the second time, because no one could have called him anything after that.
Oh yeah, because he.
Whereas that cut, it was so inconclusive, And as you said, Adam, get out of jail free card for sure.
Yeah,
it definitely was.
His detractors grew after fight 2.
Yeah.
It's hard, and he's not. I don't think he was that impressive against Martinez, who I think landed the punch of a lifetime against Galahad. But having said, we'll never see him again. The rumors are doing the round that he's going to fight Wood next, because obviously That's a phenomenal fight. What a fight that is.
That would be an absolute barnstormer.
Yeah. So those are the rumors you're seeing.
That's
boxing kid.
But
that's not going past 8 rounds.
I think that's Eddie Hearn putting out feelers to see how well, it will catch fire. And I think...
Yeah, I think DAZN need it. I think DAZN have, and we're going to get into this because it's something that's been doing my nut in for this needs addressing. DAZN have reached that point where they need to get the finger out. Because the quality of the cards have been deteriorating. Not just the main events, they have been gradually deteriorating on the undercard since there, right? They have now officially lost any and all brand-related goodwill because there was a comparison made to the PBC in America, and that's one thing, right? But in the UK, they came into the market, and their unique selling point in the market was, we're not going to do pay-per-views. Then it changed to, we're not going to do pay-per-views except for Joshua Fury things. And you think, look, logistically, I don't like it, but logistically I understand. Now, they have announced that they're going to do Golovkin Canelo pay-per-view at 5 a.m. It's not a pay-per-view fight in the UK. It was there. If your business model is, we're not going to do pay-per-view under exceptional circumstances, you cannot then have a run of fights where it would have been Joshua Usyk pay-per-view, Ben Eubank pay-per-view, Canelo Golovkin pay-per-view.
Well, I'm sorry. Whatever about Canelo Golovkin, Ben Eubank should never be pay-per-view.
It will be because it'll make them a ton of money, and they've got to pay Conor $7 million to risk his career because they haven't got the subscription numbers they thought they would. Their quality is gradually starting to deteriorate, and they're going towards a more standard linear model.
Yeah,
because they haven't got the rights from the other sports. The whole boxing was the entry point, right? They bet the house on getting the Premier League off BT. And it hasn't happened. And this is it's going the other way. I would like DAZN to concede because I like that model. And I think, generally speaking, DAZN have had the best schedule going. But they are slowly changing their tune. And it's for me, that's how you lose your goodwill and your brand image.
But obviously, like you said, they've sunk a lot of money in. So these people want to return because
they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Do you know?
But one thing how long is the DAZN going in the UK now? I mean,
2 years.
Yeah, about that. One thing that annoyed me was I was in Wales 3 weeks ago.
Too.
And sorry,
you said one thing annoyed me. I was in Wales. I said that would annoy me too.
Yeah.
I was licking at you.
So I was in Wales. Tried to watch a fight on DAZN. Couldn't log in because I'm not in the country where I purchased it.
Geo blocked.
Stuff like that. Netflix doesn't do that. Do you know, like other Disney Plus doesn't do that. Do you know, other streaming sites don't do that. And I think they've got to become more user friendly.
You've cited two things there. Neither of them are live broadcasts, whereas DAZN's was. And
I couldn't even log in.
Yeah,
I couldn't even log in to watch a previous fight.
Again, they've locked it up. It's just the way they've approached the European Broadcasting Act as being outside the European Union. And because I even complained, and they said, "Well, sorry, we don't have the rights in the European Union," and they didn't, or sorry, we don't have the rights to broadcast European Union rights outside the European Union. So basically, my subscription is European Union subscription, not Great Britain subscription. Now I don't know;
but
it probably doesn't work in Northern
But
Ireland.
what's ridiculous is it says UK and Ireland.
Yeah.
But it's the way they split it up.
I seen a clip. I'm not going to play it because copyright and whatever. But it was a clip of Joe Markowski on IFL.
Oh, this. The
8-second clip. You know the one.
Mm-hmm. I know the one you mean. It doesn't look good. It looks really bad. And
to quote, Canelo Golovkin 3 will not be a pay-per-view in the UK.
Yeah.
That was his exact words.
But even the way they've kind of framed it, it's as if you're.
But
if you're still
the other thing as well,
the money back or something.
One thing that Eddie Hearn was promised, because I remember him talking about it, and the reason he moved to DAZN, one of his biggest reasons he said in an interview was the story of the fighter. He wanted the story of the fighter to be told. You know the way the UFC make the story of the fighter.
Yeah. Like the old 24/7.
For the bell, and all of those programs that boxing fans.
It's not happened.
No.
Where is this? Like
it's the
you've
YouTube,
got fighters
the
out
YouTube
there.
stuff. The YouTube stuff's 5-10 minutes. The shoulder content's not to the degree, but I think a lot of this is. Now I know Eddie gets a lot of stick. I think this is above his pay grade for a lot of this. I don't blame Eddie for that. And it's like when they
but I blame Eddie for overselling, and Eddie's always doing that.
All promoters are doing that. They're all liars.
Eventually, you stop believing. You know, the emperor has no clothes, as the child will, say.
But it's a job. Like I promoted a nightclub in town where I went to college. I still had to sell it as if it was the best nightclub in the world.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think that's what happened. People are not buying Eddie's shtick anymore.
I think with the DAZN stuff, I think it is slightly different to Eddie selling stuff there. So for the DAZN stuff, I think he's genuinely been promised this stuff. He's genuinely been promised this is the shoulder program you're going to get to work with. You're not going to be doing pay-per-views. And I think the business model has changed because it's not been as successful as they wanted. And credit to Eddie, because I love Eddie's interviews on things like IFL. I think they're really good and they're really entertaining. And that is one of the reasons I really got into boxing. Once like the people I've like Hatton and that, which is what first got me into it. Eddie was the person that kind of like, oh, I'm actually getting insight and I'm getting to learn who these people are through this.
Oh yeah, no, he's all the patter and he is the charisma and charm. Like the man
use it properly, whereas he's now having to.
Frank Warren has zero charisma. You know what I mean?
I can't stand Frank Warren.
Like he really is. I mean, and I know Ben Shalom models himself on Eddie Hearn. If you ever watch him try to do interviews, he's almost mimicking Eddie Hearn, and it's a bit pathetic, really. But
I mean, that's fine. Like, people be themselves, and I've got no problem. Like, I don't particularly enjoy Frank's stuff, but Frank was the man for years. But with Eddie,
Frank was never front and center. I mean, okay, he stood beside the boxers, but he didn't speak as much as Eddie does.
No, but that's a fault of the
time.
promoter. Yeah, different times. And then look at who's the most famous promoter ever.
Don King.
It's Don King. And what did he do? Talk shit. Was he a piece of shit? Absolutely. But he's the most famous promoter ever. He was the promoter. And the reason he's as big as he is because he is an actual promoter.
Yeah, Don King was immortalized in The Simpsons,
Yeah, well, that is how I found out who Don King was, because I watched the Drederick Taysom episode.
Yeah.
And then we were watching this documentary where Tyson came on, and I was like, that guy behind Tyson looks like the guy off The Simpsons. And at which point my dad rolled his eyes at me and then had to explain everything when I was a kid.
Yeah, but Drederick Tatum was Mike Tyson as well.
Yeah, that exactly, just like Tyson. But yeah, it's Eddie has started to say more and more things that in hindsight have been proven to be not true. And one of my big complaints with Eddie at the minute is he did an interview about 3-4 years ago when Frank was doing exactly what Frank does, which is, here is the card, and it's 7 fights versus 7 TBA. And Eddie said, we don't do that, we announce the full card. And then now, he doesn't. I have no idea who these people are fighting to the last minute, but they're all as bad as each other. They need to be held up to a standard.
It is a kind of a race to the bottom in that regard. And people
I think a big issue with the DAZN is the difference in class between the American and the English cards.
But fair play again, they listened. They listened to us because we. Do you mean the broadcaster? Do you mean the card?
No. I mean the actual boxing. Now, they listen to us with the commentary. The commentary, yeah. Good God, and the pundits as well. Yes.
Yeah.
But
they were too American for a European audience was the problem.
No, they were shit. Even the Americans thought that the DAZN team were dreadful.
So you've got like the American cards. I mean, we won't even talk about the Canelo Triple G card because we know that has to be unreal. That has to be good. But every other American card as well has been so solid.
Rung Desai Rodriguez one. That was excellent.
What annoyed me, right, guys, and I just want to ask your opinion on this. People were going, oh my God, Usyk Joshua 2. Oh my God, that card is stacked. And I went, no, it isn't.
Yeah,
that's card of the year. I said, no, I think you'll find the card of the year is the one I'm going to in Las Vegas. And I'm not just saying that because I'm going, but by Jesus, I mean, it was good. And then it got better because they put on another great fight. Like, how are people so delusional? You know,
because it's better than expected. Because at one stage we were all going, "Is this going ahead?" It's just about it's about the bar. At one stage we were like,
they were saying
they're just not going to put anyone on it.
Here, and I
But
went,
almost. Well, the reason they're saying that is, Ender, right? Every fight has got someone you know.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
No.
If it's one good fighter against nobody, a former champion, a retired champion.
Yeah, but it's people don't care about that. That's the name. They see the name on the poster. Oh, I know him. And like that's DAZN's big issue at the moment too.
And I said, what would Campbell Hatton be co-main in Saudi? You know,
but DAZN have done plenty of really good cards.
Yeah, the Spanish
States, like competitive all the way through. But
you're not going to walk into any pub in the world, and DAZN is going to be on. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you walk in. I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you walk into a pub in Ireland or England on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What's going to be on? There's going to be football on. There's going to be cricket on. There's going to be rugby on. There's going to be something on. And in between, with the ads and stuff like that, or Sky Sports News, they're mentioning the boxing.
Oh yeah.
Like I had people in work when the Khan Brook fight was being made who never watched boxing before, but knew who Amir Khan was because he's Amir Khan. Yeah. And then they said, "Oh, Luke, is this Kell Brook lad? Is he any good? I've seen him on Sky Sports."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, yeah, he's world champion. He's a very good boxer, one of Britain's best of the last 10 years. And like, this is how people are getting to know them because it's just casual viewing. You're just watching and you see it.
Now, in fairness to Eddie, Sky really boxed him off away into that Friday slot. You know, really the graveyard slot on Sky Sports Arena. So he, you know, they. But I think,
it's about the ads. It's about the ads and the Sky Sports News.
Oh yeah,
that's where the casuals are seeing it.
Giving out that his fights weren't getting Sky Sports News coverage, and I said Sky Sports News is nothing but an advertising channel for Sky Sports channels. You know, like when they didn't have the Champions League, they scarcely mentioned it. When they didn't have the FA Cup, they scarcely mentioned it. Like, and my brother was going, "Why aren't they mentioning the FA Cup?" I says, "Because it's not one of their products." You know.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And Eddie's the same. Eddie doesn't. He says, "Oh, we mention other fights." No, you don't, Eddie.
He does. To be fair to Eddie, he does in his interviews. He doesn't do it on the DAZN
show. If he's asked, he'll talk.
If he's asked, he will talk.
No, but that's what I mean. On his DAZN shows, they're not giving extra time to it.
No, they're not.
I know Adam Smith did highlight, reference. The Taylor Serrano fight.
Yeah.
He did in that respect, but what was the one he was criticised for? Oh, they were saying they weren't giving it enough promotion. I was like, it's not theirs to promote. Why would they promote it? You know?
Well, his argument was Sky are meant to be pushing women's boxing. That was the argument there.
They have women boxers and they'll push that, you know?
But that's the fight in women's boxing. So I would say what we are doing now is getting, this is what boxing fans in general get mixed up with. We are talking about promoting things for the good of the sport or the collective good. That's just not how the business works.
Businesses aren't concerned about the collective good.
Yeah, but that's what we are arguing here.
Certainly not concerned about the collective good.
No, but this is what we're arguing about here. We're like, why are they not?
It's about individualism.
Yeah, but why are they not doing? Sorry.
Even you get like DAZN hired Maya Jama. Remember at the very beginning, and people were giving her abuse. What do you know about boxing? This, that. She wasn't a boxing pundit. She was a host, and she's a damn good host of whatever she's hosting.
Yeah, I thought the criticism of Maya Jama, and I've no ball in that game, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, regardless of how attractive I think she is, she's a good presenter, and whatever she's in.
Now, Laura Wood, I think it was a Laura Woods thing because Laura is a very good boxing presenter.
Yes, and you know she knows her stuff. But
they didn't
one
like
thing
that.
as well.
I thought they were being very unfair on Maya Jama.
Yeah, and then DAZN listened to the crowd and said, "Right, well she's gone." But then you have lads. Now I know this is different because it's Matchroom and Tony Bellew is never going to be gone, even though he said he wanted to disappear. He is not a boxing pundit.
Oh,
he might have been a world champion, but it doesn't mean he knows boxing. And I think it's awful to see someone sat there and then 2 minutes later you see him in the crowd roaring advice to fighters, and he's meant to be scoring the same fight at the same time.
No, but that's the Sky model. If you look at even in the football now, biased commentary and biased analysis.
It's all ex-pros. This is the problem, and the issue. Some are brilliant, like your man Andy Lee is one of the best commentators going.
No, they don't.
Fabulous trainer.
Him and Mike Costello are the dream team.
They're phenomenal.
But you believe they're giving out about Mike Costello and Andy Lee? They're too boring, they say.
I don't care. I think they're both brilliant.
Oh, I love them.
They're both really special. But Chris Lloyd and Darren Barker and whoever they have on, they're all really good as well. The problem comes with...
I like that Barker, what's his name, dynamic. Like, he bounce well off each other. They're the anti-deck of boxing. Barker... Yeah. They're the anti-deck of boxing, is what I call them. You know, they're fun and they're laddish and it's great. You know, and they do the kind of the segues and stuff like that, and that's really good. But then for the deep analysis, you've got Andy Lee, you know, and Costello for the commentary, and that's great too. But like you said, I don't see what the likes of Tony Bellew brings to the table. And do you know what really annoyed me? When they had Lennox Lewis there, and they barely let him speak, and
he didn't get a word in edgeways
ever. I was like, how are they wasting?
See, the thing is as well, you mentioned Darren Barker and Andy Lee. The two of them have something very similar in common. There's no ego. There's no chip on their shoulder. I met Darren Barker at an amateur show in Repton Boxing Club.
Yeah.
And he is as nice a man as you could ever wish to meet. So sound, so down to earth, time for everyone. No, I've never met Andy Lee, but I've heard he's the same way.
Oh,
very chill. He's very chill, you know, cool as a cucumber.
And he's very intelligent. So intelligent, you know.
And like, you hear Tony Bellew talk, it's always coming back to him, no matter what it is. Same with, I know Froch does it a bit tongue-in-cheek.
No,
he's the same.
But there is tongue-in-cheek, but
but he's got the ego too. And they're blinded by who they think they were. Same with Johnny Nelson saying stuff like I'd beat Usyk and all that. That's not his job to say that as a pundit.
I was wondering, did you believe that, or was he only saying that to cause controversy?
I hope it's just a controversy thing.
You know what
I really hope.
I think he's just winding us up. I think
I hope he is.
I really hope so.
Just the same with Tennyson and Tank. I think he knows what he's doing, which is now his job is to make people watch it. And if you watch it because you think Johnny Nelson doesn't know anything about boxing, then people will.
Also,
but I think he knows what he's doing.
Speaking of Tennyson, we have to wish him the best of luck in his retirement.
Yes.
Shout out to James. He hung up his gloves. Yeah. So very best of luck in your retirement there. Yeah. I've seen him fight there on the Campbell undercard.
He'll probably be in Belfast tomorrow night, or
maybe. Yeah, maybe. But best of luck to him, whatever he's up to. He's really great. Really great fighter to watch. Always enjoyed it.
I loved it. So. It was everything I loved in a fighter. Vulnerable, but could punch. That's all I ask.
But,
very quickly to finish on the commentary thing. For me, the best commentary setup ever was the HBO one, right? And it was Jim Lapley, who is a broadcasting journalist. That is his job.
Yes.
Larry Merchant was a journalist. That was his job.
Yes.
And the third voice was Emmanuel Stewart. And the difference here is Emmanuel's job as a coach is to relay information about boxing to fighters. Now, I often find, having just been across a number of sports, you often find that the best athletes do things so intrinsically and so innately, it's very hard for them to then explain it to you and me, who are idiot punters who have to think about everything.
Yeah.
I always found the coaches general. I think Shane would be an incredible commentator. I actually like Dave Caldwell. I think Dave Caldwell is a really good thing. But some fighters are very good at that. Tasha Jonas, I think, is a very good commentator. I think Andy Lee.
I really like her.
Jones, really good thinking people. If that's not necessarily your bag, if you're just not communicative like that, you're not as eloquent, or if things just happened more innately to you, which is what I think Froch is. Froch was very much, I get in there and do it. Right? I think that's the issue, and it's the communication and how it comes across. That's always been my view on that.
Well, they always say, don't they, if you truly understand something, you could explain it to a 5-year-old.
Yes.
That's when you know you truly understand something. And even going back on HBO before even Emmanuel Stewart, really, when George Foreman was the main guy,
he was brilliant
in with them. He was so good because he knew his stuff.
Mm.
You know,
George's little idioms where it was like jab with a jabber, don't hook with a hooker, and never follow a puncher. Right, those are the three. When I worked in a gym,
don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, don't hate the player, don't hate the game. When I worked in a boxing gym, that was things I taught kids.
Yeah.
Like if you can see he can hook, don't do it with him. Keep your right hand high, don't do it with him. If he's got a good jab, throw with him, it'll throw it off. And it's little things like that.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it Kennedy or Clinton or something like that? So keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it.
The KISS principle.
Don't overcomplicate it, which I think is why Ben Davidson gets a lot of grief. But we're very segueing here.
Yeah, but just to go back on that, George Foreman, I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, oftentimes he does Q&As with people, and it's great, like the knowledge he gives.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And it's wonderful, you know, because he's explaining stuff to people. And what's great is people are so appreciative of it. Because
I spoke to George. I've spoke to George before about the heavyweights. Like really, just the guy knows his stuff. It was brilliant.
If only you could have put his old brain into his young body.
You'd have never touched him. You'd have never had that. You'd have never beaten that guy.
That's the point of, you know, age. Age brings wisdom, you know.
Sorry, bring that round to this weekend.
Yeah.
The Hassan Azim, the physical Hassan Azim that fought this weekend, the one that's going to fight in 12 years' time, if you bring those together, that's the fighter. And when we, again, one day we'll talk about mythical matchups. We are very guilty of doing this. We're going to have the Sugar Ray Leonard that boxed, physically boxed Tommy Hearns. But we're going to have the Sugar Ray Leonard that outthought Marvin Hagler. Now, the hat will tell you how I thought that went, right? But we do this and we seem to amalgamate these two. But yeah, youth is wasted on the young.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You know, I mean, but you're taking the best of them. You know, their youthful vigor and their aged intelligence. You know, because I mean, wisdom. Sorry, not intelligence. Intelligence is a quotient, whereas wisdom is learning.
And then you've got the danger that is Shakur Stevenson, has got the highest IQ in the sport, I think, and
you know by him. I mean, the guy
has got all the physicality to come with it. Well, I'm just so excited for what he's going to bring.
When I saw him in the Olympics, I was like, this guy is special, you know. And even when I interviewed Martinez and I said, you know, fight Shakur again, he says, well, if I fought Shakur, I'd lose because Shakur was only a young boy, and that's the only reason I won.
Yeah,
and you know what, incredible. Right? There's no shame in saying that.
Oh no, but you know, like imagine,
and that's the beauty of such honesty in a fighter like Ramirez, who knows how great he is, but he also knows that there is up there too.
Yeah, but
I didn't. So the funny thing is, right? I watched those Olympic Games, like quite a lot of them, and the fighter I liked the most fought this weekend, which was Gary Antoine Russell. He was he was the guy I was so excited about coming out of the pros because everyone saw Shakur.
Was that 2012?
2016 in Rio.
And Shakur did everything brilliantly, and he ran into Ramirez. He Cubans across 3 rounds are so hard. And Shakur he's going to age like fine wine. But Gary, honestly, he wasn't that impressive this weekend. I really hope he doesn't turn out to be like his brother. If he has the dedication that Shakur has, he's got everything. He's phenomenal, and he is incredible to watch.
Yeah, I was proud of my pick from 2012 now because I said Errol Spence was my favorite out of the US team in 2012, and he's gone on.
You've done all right there, yeah.
Now, in fairness, I'm a Crawford fanboy, so I'm not Spence's best friend at the moment. Yeah. But still,
I imagine are Crawford fanboys, like, you know, I think he's been just amazing. So had he been afforded to be able to fight, everyone would face him and fight him. I think he would be, you know, just so held in such high regard.
Yeah, and I think
general public,
going back to punditry, I think Crawford would be a very good pundit.
Yeah,
because he's to the point. And he knows who he is. Do you know what I mean? He knows who he is, so he wouldn't have to be like, oh yeah, I could have done this, I could have done that, because he knows he doesn't have to say it.
And what do you
And
think
he's
of Andy
so-
Ward's punditry? Because he gets a lot of slack.
Him and Tim Bradley don't impress me as pundits at all.
I like Bradley's energy. I always enjoy Bradley's energy. I don't agree with what he says. I can't stand Ward as a pundit. But
Yeah.
to be fair, I didn't like Ward that much as a fighter.
Well, do you know?
The only reason I liked Ward is because what he did to Frosh. So
Yeah, but I'll compare Ward and Virgil Hunter. I'm not gone on Virgil Hunter.
No, I'm less sold on Ward. Was a brilliant fighter. I'm not sold on Hunter. So we spoke about.
He
Shane
reminds me. Sorry. Go on, Adam. Sorry.
So what you're saying? We spoke about Shane making every fighter he's ever worked with better.
Mm-hmm.
I've never watched somebody go to Virgil outside of Ward and get better.
Exactly. And I think Ward worked because he was a left-handed orthodox fighter, which is something a lot of people don't know about him. So his jab, his left hook, that's coming at you like a piston, and he was molded that way. But also, yes, exactly, the same as them. And I think Ward reminds me a bit of Ben Davidson. He tries to overcomplicate things. He tries to make things sound fancier than they are. Like, like instead of he's throwing a double jab. Oh, he's giving the double stick and now he's going to roll. He's just overcomplicating everything. You just say it how it is. And I think that's what people want. And especially the casual fans, because they don't want to be listening to that double stick business. They want to know what the fighter actually did. Do you know? And
but
if you can explain it clearly, they'll enjoy it.
But like you said, like the best boxers and the best footballers are never always the best pundits, because you have to be good communicator to be good at punditry, and the one thing about communicating, it's not just about speaking clearly and it's how you deliver your message that people want to hear it and people want to listen to it. Because if you're saying the most wonderful things but delivering in a monotone voice, then you've lost.
It's like when I was being coached when my dad was coaching me as a child and coaching me today. He tells me the why of everything. So it's not just double jab, step to your right, then throw the right hand. He's telling me why I'm doing it. Do you know? And I think when you know the why, it makes a lot more sense in your head.
Yeah.
Do you know?
You also find fighters that don't. So Josh is what I think is a really good example of this, which is double jab, step off to the side, throw the right hand. If you learn this as a 10-year-old, you know this, you know why you're doing this, and therefore it becomes second nature. If you learn this as an adult, no. And if you're necessarily going in there with somebody who's just really innately good, and you're like, right, so Josh with Ben or Ben with Josh, you're going to put the double jab right hand, you're going to throw the double jab to get the distance right, okay? You're going to step out of the way of anything coming back, and you're going to come over the potential counter. This is why you're doing this, okay? That thought process goes on in the fighter. So, right, jab, step, bang. That slows everything down. It's an active process, and that slows things down as opposed to being an automatic process. And I think that sometimes it is easier to say, right now, do that, go.
Yeah, it's why Usyk is just miles ahead of so many, because, he had Lomachenko's dad, and you'd know it was Lomachenko's dad that was teaching him, because there's so much stylistic similarities between Usyk and Lomachenko.
He's the best fighter I've ever seen live is Lomachenko. I've never seen anybody that good. I know he gets a lot of haters online. I know you can talk about
but sick of that crap, honestly. And I think he's going to come back, and he is going to win his world titles back.
I hope so.
Yeah, I was lucky.
More hope than reality, but I think he's able to do it, and I think he will do it.
I think out of the two, Usyk's better.
Oh yes,
but
how he can move as well as Lomachenko, given his weight,
But do you want to know the thing is with Lomachenko? A lot of it, unfortunately, is bells and whistles, and the one thing now, I know people don't like Teofimo Lopez. I do like him. Him and his dad saw through the belts, and Joey Gamache, in fairness. Now he's a top
Joey
trainer.
Gamache, what a trainer he is. He's another one. Every fighter that works with him gets better.
Well, Joe Ward, who's from where I'm from, and I've sparred with Joe Ward, Irish Olympian. he's with Joey Gamache now, and he's going to be something Joe Ward is. But going back to my original point, they didn't let any of that bells and whistles bother him. If Lomachenko wants to step around you, you just step back.
Yeah, if he wants to dance.
What's he going to do? What's he going to do? You've disengaged him. You've not stayed there to be hit. And that's one thing that Teofimo did well. And every other fighter that's fought him, including Nakatani last time out, stayed there. Just stayed there to be hit.
Yeah.
Whereas the best thing you can do with Lomachenko is disengage him.
Yeah, because who was it? I think it was the last fight, but he was encouraging the boxer to hit him, and then he ended up not getting the finish in the end because the boxer.
Yeah, that was against Nakatani. He went into the corner and basically stood there, and you're thinking, what's going on here? Like, just finish him, just the killer instinct.
I would have given him a caution for that as a referee.
I mean, you look at the Lomachenko that fought Martinez a few years ago. That right hook cleaned him out, and now he's kind of gone a bit cautious. I think power troubles him.
It's the shoulder. I
well,
think
that too, yeah.
He is deteriorating physically.
Yeah, but I won't. I'm not gonna. I'll never take away Teofimo's win because I think shoulder or no shoulder, he was winning that fight.
That was a wonderful performance from Teofimo Lopez. Because I was a huge Lomachenko fan, and I went, no, Teofimo Lopez absolutely won that. You know what I mean?
Because I know that look, and you probably know that look too. When someone's hurt, they have a look in their face, they have an expression, and their demeanor changes. And Lomachenko's demeanor changed after the first right hand.
Yeah,
it all changed.
I think what happened Lopez was he didn't become a bad boxer. He loved the acceptance of being the world champion.
He lost that fight more than Kambosos won it.
Oh,
I hate to say that.
He'll win plenty of belts at 140. Like I agree. I think sometimes we were talking again when we talk about, I think it was Floyd the other day, and one of Floyd's greatest assets was he was disciplined. And he kept winning and he kept winning and he kept winning. And sometimes fighters can't take being successful. Ready to go.
He'd won all the belts and he just partied.
His wife had divorced him. She took away his child. He was having a strained relationship with his father for whatever reason, because I think his dad was acting more like the champion than he was. And there was a lot of bumping heads going on in between that camp. And I think he just was so enraged when he got into the ring. He didn't look like himself. He didn't fight like himself.
He didn't rate Kambosos. No. I mean, Kambosos.
The minute he started boxing, he floored Kambosos. But it was just unfortunate that it was in the 10th round.
Yeah, it was too late. Too late to get going.
But yeah, like he's going to be the business up at welterweight.
It reminded me of Ruiz after he beat Joshua. He just went an absolute bender full of.
Oh no, that Ruiz was always lazy. Ruiz had always had that in him. I think Teo had that was family problems. Ruiz that was discipline. That has always been an issue from a lot of people. Right, do we have any other ones to do? I'm gonna have to rumble soon.
No, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Well, yeah, we do. We have Mickinson against Ortiz.
Oh yes,
also
yes. I will reiterate that because I don't think you were here for my last one when we did this with Joel. I can't see how McKinson wins this fight unless if Ortiz can make the weight safely, the jumping levels, the power. Ortiz is probably he's the fourth best welterweight in the world right now for me. I think below Bud, below Spence, and below Boots. I think Ortiz beats everybody else. He's that good.
Beats Thurman.
I think he beats Thurman. I think he's that good. I think he might beat Conor Benn, yes. Well, he's now middleweight.
Yeah. He's a middleweight now. He's a big boy now.
I basically with Ortiz, he's not just a puncher. He's not a Lemieux guy where he's just one massive.
Boys, I'm going to have to knock off because I have to make a phone call.
Yeah, I think we're all going to knock off. So that fight was covered in Gigi's Fight Talk, wasn't it?
Yes. So check that video. See you later, man. So, yeah, basically, I think.
And thanks for joining me, Adam, and thanks as well to Luke. Enjoy the fights this weekend. I'll be in Belfast, and next week I'll tell you how that went for me, and then the other fights. Then we'll go through those as well and preview then what's coming up the following week. But because I've had 4 hours sleep, I can't. My recall is awful this evening, so I can't tell you what is the fights following this week. But anyway, on that note, thanks very much, and leave your comments regarding what you think will happen this weekend, and the comments that me and the guys made, or the guys made largely tonight, because I was kind of just, yeah, excellent. But put your comments on what you think in regards of what they said about all the other issues, the trainers and the commentators and everything, and leave your comments and like it if you like it, and I hope you like it, and we'll take it from there. But we'll probably be back next week then, reviewing this again next Tuesday and previewing what's to come. So thanks very much from all here at GB Boxing and the Fighting Irish. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.